Look.
What's going on, Trouble? Oh, thank you.
No, I'm not giving it to you. I'm gonna just let you see it. Yeah, the whole time.
I don't know. I was thinking about this the other night.
For that day? But I don't think it's gonna.
He was.
I'm not too sure. I think they were waiting to get the mail or something.
It's crazy.
Hello, how are you?
They have opposite views. I feel the
I'm
same.
probably okay. Should I take your temperature today?
But that's why I know we knew that she was good for the city. Oh, who's this?
Oh, that's the thing. She came up here.
What was the first name again?
That was at a dam up in, it's one of those water trips.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I was down in the boat and I yelled up at him.
Gloria Grace,
Yeah.
water trip?
Yeah.
That was it Parker Dam? Did you guys go
It
down?
wasn't Parker Dam, it's the one that,
I just saw it right now. I have the name, but I don't have the actual document. She's opposing it.
Yes. I think he loaded it up.
So I'm gonna just sit up here. And I have to, yes, I don't have a choice. I mean, is it okay for the public?
But this is. Oh, so you just downloaded it or you pulled it up? When we come up to here. Okay, now, do we have any law code that prohibits somebody from painting the house black?
Then I'll shift.
Somebody painting the house black. No. This is the 8th and 11th.
That's fine. I'll just sit down until mine is ready.
I think it looked bad, but.
No, you're fine. Matter of fact, I don't need none of this right now. I'm gonna leave all this here until it's time.
Thank you very much. Mention it.
Okay, we're going to call to order the council meeting of June 9, 2020. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. A quorum is present for the City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority, Joint Powers Authority, and Finance Authority.
All right. Any person wishing to address City Council on closed session items? No, excuse me. No, sorry about that. Any persons wishing to address the City Council on any items on today's agenda may do that still at this time. Do we have public comment? Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Not for the
Okay.
agenda set, not at this time.
Okay. Are there any persons present in Community Room A who are present who wish to address the Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority on any item on today's agenda other than the public hearings? No one in Community Room A. On-call speakers, is the operator on?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Are there any persons in the public queue that want to address the City Council, Successor Agency, Housing Authority on the agenda?
We have no attendees on queue.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. Item 1, CSA 1 and H1.
Payment of the bills.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members, successor agency members, and housing authority members, Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla. Morales. Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Chairman Butts.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
Mayor, the next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a resolution affirming categorical exemption EACE 2020036 and approving General Plan Amendment 2020-001 to adopt an environmental justice element for the Inglewood General Plan.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
Mayor, communications, I believe, have been received on this matter, but I'm not sure if this one, if it's for this one or the next item, but communications have been received.
Okay, well, we'll receive and file those communications. Mr. City Attorney, if we receive communications, is it sufficient to distribute them to the council?
Yes.
Okay, so then what we'll do right now, since we're gonna vote on the item, we're gonna have, Ms. Johnson, okay, she'll take those.
Actually, Mayor, it may be for the next item.
Oh,
I'm looking
for
at the,
Well, nonetheless, give them to her so she can copy them and make copies for the entire council.
yes, sir.
Okay, so would you copy those and make copies for every member of the city council so we can take them into consideration? All right. Is there a staff report on the matter?
Yes, there is. Mr. Fred Jackson will be reading the staff report.
Mr. Jackson, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. Can I get the presentation, please? Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Fred Jackson with the Planning Department, coming before you before General Plan Amendment 2020-001 to adopt environmental justice element to the General Plan. In September 2016, Senate Bill 1000 was adopted, and it requires cities and counties to address environmental justice in their general plan. Cities and counties may adopt to either adopt a separate standalone environmental justice element or incorporate those goals and objectives of the environmental justice throughout the general plan. It is required upon revision of 2 or more general plan elements. California defines environmental justice as the fair treatment of people of all races, cultures, and incomes with respect to the development, adoption, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. The environmental justice element must address the following: identify objectives and policies to reduce health risk in disadvantaged communities. Identify objectives and policies to promote civil engagement, as well as, third, to identify objectives and policies that prioritize the improvements and programs that address the needs of disadvantaged communities.
Could I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure.
Madam Clerk, could you announce the dial-in number in case some people have an incorrect number? Does anybody here have the dial-in number?
Yes, sir, Mayor. It's
Okay.
1-877-369-5243 or 1-617-668-3633 with an access code of 0995996, pound.
Now, would you repeat that one more time?
Yes, Mayor. 1-877-369-5243 or 1-617-668-3633 with the access code of 0995996, pound.
All right. So for anybody watching, and I imagine if you wanted to call in, you would be watching, we'll allow you to call in and make public comment at that time if you had the wrong number.
Can I I repeat the number?
Yes, you can repeat the number.
Okay, the number will be 1-877-369-5243 with the access code of 0833144#.
All right, so for anybody watching, and I imagine if you want to make public comment, you would hear that. And if you call in and you are unable to call in, we'll make another provision for public comment after the public hearing. All right, continue on.
Sure. So as mentioned, municipalities are required to adopt or review the environmental justice element or the environmental justice goals and objectives and other elements upon the adoption or next revision of two or more elements concurrently on or after January 1st, 2018. In anticipation of future, current, and long-range planning projects that could trigger the environmental justice element, the city decided to proactively adopt an environmental justice element ahead of state mandated guidelines. The city commenced preparation in October 2018. The city, along with our consultant Civic Solutions, held several outreach sessions. In January 2019, we had a community workshop. In February of 2019, we conducted two focus groups, one conducted in English and one conducted in Spanish. We also had additional input through the city's website and at booths at the 2019 Martin Luther King celebration, as well as the 2019 Earth Day. According to the California Environmental Protection Agency, disadvantaged communities are those disproportionately burdened by multiple sources of pollution and with population characteristics that make them more sensitive to pollution. To identify disadvantaged communities, Cal EPA uses Cal EnviroScreen 3.0, which is a computer mapping tool that identifies communities that are most affected by pollution. Cal EnviroScreen identifies several census tracts within the city of Inglewood in the top 25% or more pollution burdened census tracts and social economic vulnerabilities. Lower scores, less pollution burden, tend to be located in the northern eastern limits of the community, while higher scores, more pollution burden, are located in the west, southwest, and south. It is important to note that the city of Inglewood is not unique in the region. Many other cities in the metropolitan area and the South Bay have similar pollution burden and vulnerabilities. Several areas of the city are considered disadvantaged based on the city's combined Cal EnviroScreen 3.0 scores and are eligible for State Senate Bill 535 and Assembly Bill 1550. And this is a map of the Senate Bill 535 map for disadvantaged communities. So the environmental justice element sets forth goals, policies related to ensuring environmental justice in the city. The key environmental justice topics addressed in the element are 1, meaningful public engagement, 2, land use and environment, 3, mobility and active living, 4, the access to healthy food, 5, healthy and affordable housing, and 6, public facilities. Each section includes an introduction, goal statement, and action-oriented policy statements. In the area first for meaningful public engagement, the city's goal is to have residents and stakeholders that are aware of and effectively participate in the decisions that affect their environment and quality of life. You'll find on page 13 and 14 of the goal. To address this and guide the implementation of this goal, there are 8 policies in the area of governance and 10 in the area of participation and collaboration. The next goal is in the area of land use and the environment. And the goal for this is to minimize the community's exposure to pollution in the environment through sound planning and public decision-making. And you will find that there are 15 policies that are addressed in the element that deal with the area of general environment and health, 6 policies for residential uses and other sensitive receptors, and 9 policies in the area of industrial and commercial facilities. The next is mobility and active living. The city's goal to encourage mobility and active living is to promote physical activity and opportunities for active living in all communities. To address and guide the implementation of this goal, there are 9 policies in the area of access and connectivity and 3 policies for urban greening. The 4th area is access to healthy food. To ensure healthy and well-being of the community, it is essential that all community members have access to healthy food. And our goal is that healthy, affordable, and culturally appropriate food is readily available to all members of the community. Again, there are 10 policies in the area of affordable and nutritious food and 6 policies for urban agriculture. The 5th goal is healthy and affordable housing. Affordable housing, housing affordability is a major concern for many Los Angeles residents. Many residents spend a sizable portion of their incomes on housing. And our goal in that area is to provide safe sanitary housing conditions and affordable housing options for all income levels of the community. We have 9 policies in the area of housing conditions and 5 policies addressing housing affordability and displacement. And then last is public facilities improvements and programs. Public facilities are important, are improvement services and amenities that benefit the community. Disadvantaged communities have traditionally had fewer public investments in their neighborhoods. And our goal in this regard is to adequately and equitably distribute public facilities improvements and programs that are available in all communities. And we have 10 policies for public facilities. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer your questions. One addition.
Caller, please go ahead.
There are some.
Hi.
Okay, are there any members of the public that want?
Mr. Mayor, I failed to, I apologize, I failed to mention that there are some revisions to the staff report as well as the resolution, and they were to address comments that we've received from the public.
All right.
And if you like, on the staff report, page 1, it's underlined what that addition is, and then on the resolution, pages 2 with dates, and then on pages 3, 4, and 5 of the resolution or revisions.
Thank you. Are any persons present or online that wish to address the council on this matter?
So pound number.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is April Cooper. And I'm not sure if I called in at the right point during the meeting, but I had a comment on public hearing 2.
All right.
Is this,
No, well, we're
Okay,
on
so I
public,
just
we're on
wanted
public,
to-
ma'am, we're on public hearing number 1, we're at PH1 right
Yes.
now.
Thank you.
okay, thank you. I wasn't sure.
Okay, all right. You can call back and queue up for public hearing number 2. Is there anybody with a comment on PH1, public hearing number 1? And let me confirm this for everyone. The proper access code, the phone numbers are correct. The proper access code is pound 827-583 pound. Again, pound 827-583 pound. And we'll take your calls. Not okay, Mr. Operator, are there any further calls queued?
There are no more calls queued.
Okay. Any council comment or is there a recommendation?
Mayor, I move that we affirm and adopt, so that would be PH 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Madam, first, moved by Councilman Morales, seconded by Councilman Dodson. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Council members Dotson,
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Madam Clerk, what's the next scheduled matter?
Mayor, the next scheduled matter is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a resolution affirming categorical exemption EACE 2020-037 and approving General Plan Amendment GPA 2020-002 to amend the land use element of the Inglewood General Plan to clarify existing population density and building intensity allowances for all land uses designations.
Has the notice of the hearing been given in the time, form, and manners required by law? Do you have the affidavit on file?
Notice has been given and an affidavit is on file.
Have any communications been received on the matter?
Yes, Mayor, communications have been received.
And the communications have been distributed to the council, is
Ye-
that correct?
Yes, Mayor.
All right. Is there a staff report?
Yes, there is a staff report. Mr. Fred Jackson will be presenting it.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon again, Mr. Mayor and Council. I will start off by saying there are some revisions to this staff report as well as the resolution. You'll find those revisions on page 4 of the staff report, which addresses a concern that we received regarding major mixed-use land use designation. And then also on pages 8, 9 of the staff report. Additionally, the resolution has some revisions as well. Pages 2, 3, as well as on page 5 of the resolution. California Governmental Code 65-300 requires each city and county to adopt a general plan. General plans provide the overall framework for translating community values and expectations into strategies for managing the growth and enhancing the quality of life. The general plan for the city appears to fulfill California planning and zoning law requirements. However, it was last comprehensively updated in 1987. Since 1987, additional judicial interpretations of the state general plan regulations, specifically the requirement that the land use element include a statement of the standards of population density and building intensity recommended for the various districts and other territory be covered by the plan. So, a general plan must contain standards for population density. Population density is the relationship between the number of potential residents in a given area, for example, an acre, and the number of potential residents is largely based on the number of allowed dwellings in that given area. The formula for figuring and calculating population density is the dwelling units per acre multiplied by the number of residents per dwelling. Based on the California Department of Finance estimations, the city of Inglewood has 3.02 people per unit. The following population densities are proposed. For the land use designation of low-density residential, we have an allowed density dwellings of 1 to 6 units per acre. That would equal a population density of 3.02 to 18.12. Similarly, low-medium densities residential has allowed density dwellings of 7 to 22 units per acre, and that would equal a population density of 21.14 to 66.44. Likewise, medium density, 23 to 43 units, with a density of 69.46 to 129.86.
Fred, can we hold up again?
Absolutely.
Apparently, there's a different access number for this public hearing. The phone number is 877-369-5243. The access code is 08331444, but I'm going to call it to see if it requires pounds as well. But anyway, go ahead, Fred.
Okay. And so that is population density and how the calculation is arrived to achieve population density. So a general plan must also contain standards for building intensity, which is for non-residential land use designations. The building intensity standards defines the concentration of use. And we use building area ratio, which is the building total floor area divided by the site area, is the standard used for commercial, industrial, and public/quasi-public intensity. And to calculate the building area ratio percentage, it is equal to the total building floor area divided by the site area multiplied by 100. And as an example, the proposed building area ratio takes into account current setbacks, the landscape buffer requirements, as well as height allowances for each land use designation. So, for example, taking a industrial site and where the total site area of that industrial site is 1,000 square feet, you subtract the setbacks, which is 100 square feet, and you have a building area of 900 square feet. There are 6 floors in this building, so you will multiply 6 times 900, which is your building area, and that gives you a total of 5,400 square feet. So to calculate your building area ratio, you would take that 5,400 square feet divided by 1,000, which is your total site area, multiply that by 100, and then that would give you a building area ratio of 540%. So as proposed, the structures could not exceed the specified building area ratio for the following designation, land use designation. So for commercial, that would be 490%. For commercial/residential, that would be 400%. For commercial/recreational, that's 880%. Industrial is 1,380%. Hospital, medical, residential is 390. And as mentioned, there was a revision to address the major mixed use, which is the Hollywood Park site. The overall floor area ratio for the entire site shall not exceed 2:1 average over the 298-acre site, which is in the initiative. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, so once again, anyone calling in, the number is 877-369-5243. The access code is 0833144. And then it will ask you to press pound. And then if you don't have an ID number, it'll ask you to press pound again. So that is the number. So, Mr. Operator, are there any calls?
Please hit pound 2.
You want me to hit pound?
We have 1 in the queue.
All right. Go ahead,
Caller, go ahead.
please.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question about, sorry, there's a little feedback. I have a question about 2.02 per unit. Can you explain a little bit more, break down for me? Because it seems like a number, but how does that work in terms of like a studio apartment? Is it maybe 3 people per studio?
Ma'am, this really isn't a Q&A, but it is definitely time for you to make a comment. You're going to have to try again because you were cutting in and out. Hello?
Sorry, I said you were going to answer questions, right?
No, it's not a Q&A, but you definitely can make a comment. Go right ahead.
No, I don't have a comment.
Okay. Well, can you send an email to the city clerk, and perhaps we can answer you? Ma'am?
Please hit pound 2 to ask a comment. Caller, your line is now unmuted. Please go ahead.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Yeah, I sure will send an email follow up. Thank you.
Okay, and which district do you live in, ma'am? Ma'am? Hello? Okay, can we go on to the next comment, please? Mr. Operator? Oh, you said there was only one. Okay, that'll close public comment. Is there a motion?
No. Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just,
Okay. Hey, why should it be different for you? Go ahead. I lost control a long time ago, Brad.
I was just informed that on Facebook, there were a few questions as well and wanting some clarifications as to what some of the revisions are.
Okay.
So I can go in
That would be appropriate.
a little more in depth into some of the revisions that were made to the staff report as well as the resolution. As I mentioned previously, on page 4 of the staff report, we inserted major mixed-use land use designation, which is the under building intensity standards. We inserted major mixed use, which is the Hollywood Park site, and took the language that is in the initiative which deals and addresses building intensity, that the overall floor area ratio for the entire site shall not exceed 2-to-1 averaged over the 298-acre site. Previously, it was just mentioned in the population density addressing the residential component of Hollywood Park. Additionally, on page 5, we added that we received a letter on May 26 from the Silverstein Law Firm. And then on page 8, again, we received comments, and so we have addressed those comments as it relates to the environmental CEQA analysis on pages 8 and 9. As it relates to the resolution, those changes and revisions are reflected throughout as well, but specifically on page 2, which are, 2 to page 3, we have incorporated revisions to the resolution, which addresses the issues that I previously just raised. And then last, on page 5 of the resolution, again, we inserted major mixed use into the building intensity standards table, and that is reflected there, and those are the revisions.
Okay, so Fred, do me a favor. Would you read what those questions were? That was their comment, so.
That was just their question comment in terms of what are the specific
Changes. Okay.
changes.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. Is there a motion?
Motion affirm and adopt number 2 and 3 PH2, Mayor.
Second.
So moved by Councilman Morales, seconded by Councilman Padilla. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
I'm sorry. Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. So it passes. Let's see. Get to the rest of the agenda. Consent calendar, items 2 through 4.
Thank you, Brad. Good job.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Butts.
Aye. I'm going to go out of order. No, I guess I'm not. DR1.
Staff report presenting the fiscal year 2019-2020 mid-year budget review report.
Is there a staff report?
Yes, Ms. Kiona Buchanan, Acting Budget Manager, will give the staff report.
Welcome,
I'll
Ms.
be reading the
Buchanan.
presentation. I will be presenting a presentation. If we can get it up here the right way. You need to change it to the presentation view. You want me to change it for you? I think you put it up All right, good afternoon, everybody. So the purpose of this report is to provide mayor and council and the public with the status and condition of the city's general fund and selected special fund budgets for the second quarter of fiscal year 2019-2020. With that, I will begin the presentation of our mid-year. I'd also like to mention that the report period is premature of the COVID-19 impact compared to today. And I say that because the information I'll be reporting is from October 2019, ending March 31st, which as of now has actually changed and will significantly change by year end. All right, so we'll begin with the key economic indicators. Our property tax has recognized an increase of 6% in net taxable value. That is only in the general fund areas. Citywide, we're looking at 25.7. We're pretty much mirroring the county at 6%. Our sales tax quarterly trends are experiencing a decrease of 5.3% over the same period as the prior year. Our building permit fee activity has increased 103.6% over prior year, same period. The UUT experienced an increase of 4% compared to the prior year, same period. Our business license tax has slightly increased by 2.4% compared to the same period last year. I'll definitely go over the reasons for the increases and decreases as we proceed. The unemployment rate for the city is 7.5%. That's up approximately 42% compared to the same quarter last fiscal year at 5.3. Unemployment today as a result of the coronavirus COVID-19 is estimated to be approximately 18% statewide. About 4.6 Californians have filed for unemployment to date. So just to give you a good understanding of the magnitude of the matter during the recession in the late 2000s, there were 2.2 million Californians applying for unemployment.
So it's 4.6 million now.
That is correct.
Okay.
So looking back at where we were during those years, you can tell we are definitely walking into a very unprecedented time. This is by far the largest economic change, not just for California, but also, unfortunately, for citywide. And our general fund expenditures are under budget by 15.9% through mid-year. That's based on the proportionate amount. Okay, so give you a snapshot of where we started our budget for fiscal year 2019-20 at adoption. We started with $125.5 million in revenues, and we projected $125.4 million in expenditures, providing a projected surplus of $92,000. To date, just looking at our current modified budget for the general fund ending March 31st, 2020, our revenues are currently projecting at $125,587,438, and our expenditures are projecting at $141,332,530. That is providing a projection of a 15.7 million deficit. Now keep in mind, not all of the projected expenditures will be expended this year as a result of the impacts of COVID-19. Okay? Here's where I will give you just a summary of our general fund performances for our revenues based on the revenue categories listed here. Of the current total general fund revenue budget amount of $125.6 million, the city has received $68.9 million, or 55% in revenues at mid-year, compared to $65.2 million in the prior year same period. On the next slide, as I mentioned before, I'll go through each of the revenue categories and briefly discuss the increases and/or decreases by category. Also, this slide provides you with the prior year information, so if you're looking at the current revenue budget compared to last year, I just want to make note that though the revenue budget for fiscal year 20 versus 19 appears to be less by $2.5 million, that is not representative of any actual reduction in revenues received or anticipated. That was based on the fact that we had some one-time revenues included for last year. Okay. Now, I'm going into our revenue performance categories for each of the groups that I mentioned before. I'll tell you why the increases and decreases occurred. So for the UUT taxes, they're up $255,000 or 4%. This increase is attributed to an increase in collections for our cable, TV, water, electric, and gas receipts. Sales tax are slightly down by $542,000 or 5%. This decrease is a slight decline in the activity related to auto transportation, building construction, general consumer goods, restaurants, and service stations. In addition, there was the swift reaction by consumers and businesses to the outbreak of the coronavirus. Though that was very premature for our timing, it was a very, very minimal, less than 1% factor of the decrease related to our revenues as of right now. For sales tax, property taxes are up $1.9 million or 15%. Again, our property taxes have experienced a large increase in our net taxable value, which attributes to the increase in our actual property tax received. And it's also attributed, and will continue to be attributed, to our new parcel over at the stadium, as well as the property increases in value within the city. Our other local taxes are up $5 million or 33%. The increase is attributed to the non-resident construction tax related to the new development. Other revenues are down approximately $4.6 million or 34%. This decrease is attributable to the anticipated decrease for the development fee mitigation agreements, offset by some increases in revenues from development. So we pretty much anticipated this change based on our development and fee mitigations, okay? So it wasn't something that has really dropped in the sense of collection. It was anticipated because of our construction and other revenues related to. Overall, our general fund revenues are up 6%, rounded. Okay, next slide. This slide provides our mid-year general fund expenditure performances for the categories listed here. Of the total current general fund expenditure budget of $141.3 million, the city has expended $59.4 million, or 42.1% by mid-year, compared to $52.7 million in the prior year same period. Okay, now I'll go over to the next slide here and give you a little bit more detail of the increases and decreases related to those categories. Now, all operations, as you can see, have experienced an increase when compared to last year's same period, and most being very minimal with the exception to police and fire. Police and fire combined are up $4.6 million or 11.7%. The increase is attributed to filled positions that were previously vacant, as well as overtime, a little excess overtime, as well as salary ordinance increases and our fire contract service increase year over year.
Could I interrupt you slightly?
Yes.
I can understand police being up because there's an overtime situation there that we're going to address in negotiations.
Yes.
I can understand us having full staffing of the police department that occurred that was not expected. But what I don't understand is if we have a fire contract which specifies specific fire services on an annual basis, how is it possible that expenditures through March are up 16.2%?
Based on we are also receiving some increased costs related to their bargaining in this agreement. So they have some increased raises in this
No,
one.
but the thing is, we don't know when we negotiate a contract with them, it takes into account any raises that they have, and then any raises that they have going forward would be included in the next negotiation. So I want to be clear on this, Mr. Fields. I want you to contact them. We negotiate an annual fee for a year. They're not our employees. And so anything they negotiate for is what the contract is. They don't get to increase based upon their decisions mid-contract. So you know that we've gotten bills that are in excess of what we negotiated for, is that correct?
So Mayor, what she's explaining is that this is, as you know, the fire contract, it increases at each year.
It does.
And so what she's showing here is that over last year, this time, this contract this year is higher. Those increased costs are due to salaries and operational costs. We can get back to you with the exact amount that it increased, but what she's showing you here is that this fire contract is 16% above last year this time in last fiscal year.
I totally understand.
Okay.
that. Let me tell you something, I totally understand that.
Okay.
However, this is a mid-year expenditure performance.
Right.
We knew when we budgeted
Right.
what we were gonna pay this fiscal year, is that right, Ms. Buchanan?
Correct, but this is compared to
Last
last
year.
year.
So,
Last year was
so
lower.
what I'm saying is, but how is that relevant? And I get that, it's up from last year. But how is that relevant to our projections for what we will be over or under this year? I'm saying, if we are trying to see the reasons that we will be under or over budget, then the more relevant thing is, what did we budget for? And are we on point with that projection? Because the number that I'm interested in is how we got to the 141 million from the 125 million.
And Mayor, if I can further clarify, because I get what you're saying, you're basically saying, we knew that already.
Yes,
We budgeted for that because we knew that already, what they're
Absolutely.
doing up here.
absolutely. And we get it, but what I'm saying is, I'm trying to ascertain where the 141 number comes from, as opposed to where we were versus last year. You get what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yes,
And so, while this is definitely interesting, the point is, we anticipated that in this year's budget, did we or did we not? Or did we budget at the old number?
no, we anticipated it this year.
Okay, so these numbers, the one that's relevant is, the police number, because that includes unexpended overtime that we incurred, and it also is the result of vacancies that were filled that we could not anticipate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, but anyway, carry on. I just want to tell you when.
And this one is spreading a higher value in what we paid out in the first 6 months last year compared to this year, because it does have compound increases for raises.
I get
It
that.
does.
I totally get that. Anyway, but carry on, and we'll have more conversation later.
Okay, all right. So continuing on, I'll kind of group these here. In terms of our ECD, Parks, Recreation, Library Services, and Public Works, they're all fairly minimal in the respect of being within 1%, no more than 2% increases for their operations. So they're relatively flat on a financial perspective of spending. As far as the general government, they're up 337,000 or 4%. General government includes all the other remaining departments, such as mayor, council, treasurer, city clerk, legal administration, HR, and so forth. Now, they're up 4% compared to last year in relation to salary ordinance increases and various maintenance and operations expenditures that weren't initially anticipated. And overall, the general fund expenditures are up 12.7% compared to last fiscal year, same period. This slide provides the special fund performances, similar to the one for the expenditure and revenues. The top one is our special fund categories for our revenues that we've received. Revenues are up 3 million or 11.6% collectively over the same period last fiscal year. We received 33% of the budget. The increase is attributed to the increased activity related to grants and special funds, such as our Measure R funding program, our residential sound program, and our housing authority programs. More detail is explained and provided in our written report. The proprietary funds revenues are up $527,000 or 3% collectively from the same period last fiscal year. We received 45% of the budget. This increase is mostly due to the increase in residential and commercial water sales. Now, debt service is approximately $940,000 compared to prior year. That amount can vary depending on our debt schedule and our transfers for those schedules. The bottom graph or table here represents the special fund expenditure portions. Those expenses are up $5.5 million or 21% compared to the same period last fiscal year. We have expended 27% of the budget. Moreover, the increase in expenditures is mainly attributed to our additional support for Measure IT for PD, increased activity for our calls for projects, as well as the housing assistance payments in the Housing Authority program. Okay? The property fund expenditures are down $1.5 million or 7.4%, less collectively from the same period last year. We expended 36% of the budget. The decrease is mostly attributed to the water fund due to now insourcing our water supply through the city's new well, and due to a decrease in expenses related to CIP projects, which those items will be adjusted now that we've gotten a full year of what our expenses would be with having a new well. We will be reducing that allocation, so you won't see such a huge decrease going forward. And again, the debt services at this year are reportable for mid-year at $2.1 million. Now we have our mid-year capital improvement projects. The CIP, on the left side, we have our citywide, and on the right is the general fund. The CIP budget includes a current appropriation of $62.6 million. Of this amount, a total of $5.6 million or 9% has been expended at mid-year, ending March 31st, 2020. There's a total encumbrance amount for future commitments of $21.2 million or 33.8% of the total current operating budget. Of that amount to the right of the slide is the general fund CIP current obligations at $10.2 million and expenditures of $1.1 million, or 10.5% has been expended at mid-year. There is an encumbrance of $1.5 million or 15.1% for future commitments. Some projects activity related to the general fund could possibly be deferred until a later date due to the impacts of COVID-19, but that information will be more discovered or figured out towards as we get closer to preparing for our fiscal year 2021. Okay, and here we have our capital improvement project statuses by category. This gives you the number of count of the actual projects that are actually either in construction or design. So this slide shows the project status by category, where we have a total of 27 projects in construction phase and 7 projects are under contract for design. As of mid-year, March 31st, a total of 34 CIP projects are active and 27 are in construction and 7 are in design. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay.
If you have any questions.
Just one question. So the increase in the expenditure line, the 141,332.
Yes.
That 15.7 million is from what? Because if I look at the
That is from, majority of that, pretty much all of it, is for one-time expenses that we've chosen to make council's action by amending the budget to set aside for, we have about maybe $10 to $12 million in general fund CIP projects.
okay.
That's related to that. And then additional to that, we have probably about 6 or 7 million in additional operating expenses that we're doing that are one-time.
That are one-time, so these are one-time expenses.
That is correct.
Now, we anticipate that the reduction in sales taxes are gonna go on, because now we're still in the stay-at-home period, and so we could anticipate that this 15.7 million is a baseline at this point, and that it will likely increase
Grow,
as we get through the next 6 months.
yes.
And so that any decisions that we make going forward have to bear this in mind. And we have also, Mr. Fields, we've frozen capital projects that we have not completed as yet, and we'll be making a decision on a case-by-case basis as to whether we go forward. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And so the reality is that this includes all those projects, and some of them are dire, like a roof at the city yard and water issues in City Hall. because
Correct.
We have a 45-year-old building, and we understand that, but we just want to make it clear that some of this is within our discretion, but some of them, we have no choice.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you very much. And to be clear, looking at the actuals for police and fire, that were 48% expended through
Right.
mid-year, which puts us 2% under target. So
Actually,
we
50%.
did get billed what we should be billed by fire. That number, so that people watching would understand, that doesn't represent an increase in cost, it's cost that we anticipated because we had a contract and we're
Correct.
within contract figures. All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions from the council?
Mayor, just a point of clarity, Mayor.
Yes.
When you talked about the CIP projects,
Mhm.
you're not talking about projects that the council already approved to engage in a contract and the services are being rendered during that time. It's the prospective
There-
ones regarding the ones that may be in design.
It's any projects that we have not gone into an agreement to expend
Okay.
funds for.
Thank you.
That's where we have discretion.
Thank you.
All right. Right, yes?
No,
Al?
Mayor, I just want to, I know I've had discussions and we've talked with community members out there, just to be clear with them that, you know, in light of everything going on with the COVID-19, all the, you know, the loss in revenues and how we're, you know, taking a look as a council, as your leadership here in the city of Inglewood, the CIP projects that have not been started are gonna be reassessed to see if any of them will continue forward. You know, because there are some that will not continue forward. Those are decisions that we will make as a council up here. Mr. Atwood,
I
do
just
you
want
have?
to make a point of clarity. These are general fund
Right.
CIP projects. The other funded projects based on Measure R, Prop A, Prop C,
Are
those will
already-
continue forward.
Right, those are already gone.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and I want to say that Ms. Buchanan has done an outstanding job in gathering, collating, and synthesizing information to make it digestible and understandable by the council, and we have great appreciation for you and the work that you've done, Ms. Buchanan. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Maybe too digested.
Thank you.
Okay, before we go on to the next, what does this require?
DR2.
Oh, DR2, correct.
Okay, well, before we go on, I want to go back to PH2. I believe it's 2, just a minute. It's PH1 or 2, but the question was, thank you. Is it possible to have the council address whether or not they reviewed public comments emailed for the general plan before the end of the meeting? Also, were the changes approved? Okay, I know that I reviewed the
Yes.
comments that were emailed in,
Yes.
and the other council
did.
members have affirmed that, and the changes were approved with the approval of the item. So I wanted to answer that directly. Now, we're, Madam Clerk, DR2.
Staff report recommending adoption of a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the Local Agency Formation Commission for the County of Los Angeles.
Move 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. 01.
Staff report recommending the introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Inglewood Municipal Code to implement a citywide permit parking district program.
So you want to allow for
Allow staff to state for the record the ordinance amendments based on the city council recommendation of the public hearing held on May 5th, 2020. Mr. Atwell, is someone going to state on the record, for the record, that the ordinance amendments?
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. You wanted to hear a little bit about what the amendment is?
Yes.
Okay, so on May 5th, 2020, a public hearing was held to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 3 of the Inglewood Municipal Code, and this is in regard to motor vehicles and traffic, to implement citywide permit parking program in preparation of the August 2020 scheduled SoFi Stadium opening. During the meeting, council members raised concerns regarding the practicality of requiring all visitors to have parking permits for short visits. And this was an issue regarding, gardeners or family members coming over, even for a barbecue or whatever it might be. Well, staff has revised the ordinance in such a way to include language granting the Director of Public Works the authority to determine whether permit parking restrictions shall apply 24/7 or any portion thereof. This authorizes the Public Works Director to grant exceptions to the 24/7 permit parking requirement by placing signs or markings indicating the parking limitation period of the day of its application and the fact that the vehicles with valid permit parking shall be exempt therefore. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to exempt vehicles, allow them to park between 1 and 2 hours of time on the street during 8 to 5 in the day. So this allows people to get, the gardening done, even on an event day, allow it. But events typically at SoFi Stadium would be 4 to 5 hours long. So people that are attending the event will not park there because they only have about 2 hours to park. And so we built in this flexibility as recommended by the council on May 5th. And that concludes my presentation.
Motion to waive further reading.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye, and I'll introduce the item.
Thank you. Mayor, may I have just a point of clarity with Mr.
Yes,
Atwell?
yes,
The action we have taken has actually implemented that 2-hour,
yes,
that 2-hour gap that we're giving visitors, correct?
that's
Right.
correct.
Yes, it allows 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah,
So essentially, we're going to roll it out with the 2 hours
Yeah.
citywide.
yeah, 2 hours city.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was actually being implemented based on our action and not requiring that second step.
Correct.
Correct. A1?
No, Mayor, we have to, we need a motion to waive the further reading, and you introduced it, but we need to do a motion to waive the further
I think
reading.
he did.
That was
We
the
did.
first thing I did.
Further reading.
That was the vote we did before, motion to waive further reading.
Okay, and then you introduced?
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
introduced.
yes, sir.
A1?
Union negotiating with the IPOA and IPMA. As to that, a discussion was held and direction given to staff. Item 2 was the workers' compensation claim of Michael Bollinger. There's a request for settlement authority in the amount of $115,783.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Morales,
Aye.
Padilla. I'm sorry, Padilla. Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. A2?
And I'm sorry, as to the third item, Mayor, was we had a CS3 as a closed session. It was Lloyd Collins versus the City of Inglewood. As to that, the discussion was held and direction given to staff. As to A2, there's no reports from the city attorney's office.
CM1,
No report from the city manager's office.
CT1, CC1, city clerk,
No reports, Mayor, thank you.
CT1, city treasurer.
In anticipation that I won't be able to complete this report, I request that the city clerk include this report as part of the documents for today. I request that the meeting be closed in honor of Annie Jones Jackson, neighbor, sister of Zola Jones of our block club, and also Larry Aubrey, former school board member. I have 5 items I'd like to hopefully discuss. The first is I'm readdressing the resolution that by city manager Artie Fields to disband the treasurer's oversight committee and instead install the mayor's committee installed in his city manager and his city attorney and a council member. Sadly, Mr. Fields has no knowledge of the function of an investment oversight committee and has allowed himself to be manipulated and used by his boss, Mayor Butts, in a way he chooses in order to protect his unearned and undeserved salary of $477,000 and his annual Christmas bonus of $36,000. Our audit firm found no issue with the treasurer whatsoever in the 32 years she has served as this treasurer, but the city manager, who has no accounting, no finance, did this on his own, and I certainly disagree with that. And in my opinion, in my 32 years, he's without a doubt the most ineffective city manager we've ever had. Number 2, the city expenditures to support Inglewood today in the Los Angeles Business Journal. The city has expended some $243,000 at April 2020 to the Inglewood Today, a strictly throwaway paper. It has practically 0 subscription, so why pay for something that you can get for free? The paper should actually be called Inglewood and Butts Today. Articles praising Mayor Butts appear almost weekly. Also, another $19,000 has been paid to the Los Angeles Business Journal. So when you're paying this kind of money, you can get real nice face articles in it. Number 3, city expenditures to support the law firm of Kane, Balmer, and Berkman, who employs city consultant Royce Jones. I'd like to point out that Royce Jones is employed by this particular firm. He does a lot of work for the city, redevelopment in the past, sits on the bond issues and refunding committees. He actually has a small office in the city. He has attended numerous city events. And as a result of this, and he has been provided some $700,000 in business for his firm, so much until he has actually made partner. Number 4, my heart goes out to those who've been affected by the coronavirus. And sadly, the city of Inglewood has lost 4 members, a family lost 4 members in 1 week, as reported by the Times. Regrettably, according to the County of Los Angeles Department of the Health Department, Inglewood leads the parade with 703 deaths, 703 cases, 57 deaths, and has the highest death rates of any other South Bay city. I have the others listed, but I won't be able to read it. Mayor Butts also designed.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, you're done.
Why not? You allow others to speak.
Ms. Brown, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
What are you afraid of, Mayor?
I'm not afraid of anything. Okay, so now we're going to council comments. Excuse me.
No, we have H2.
No, excuse me, H2.
Okay, staff report recommending the adoption of a resolution updating the administrative plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program and the opening of the waiting list for Section 8.
Move adoption.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Housing Authority members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye, H3.
Staff report recommending the adoption of a resolution to accept federal funding from the Department of Housing and Urban Development for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program under the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act.
Move adoption of 1 and 2.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Housing Authority members Dodson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Chairman Butts.
Aye. So now we'll have appointments to boards and commissions. Councilman George Dotson nominates and I appoint Ruby Shelby Mackey to the Housing Advisory Commission.
I concur.
Madam Clerk.
Council members Dotson.
Aye.
Padilla.
Aye.
Morales.
Aye.
Franklin.
Aye.
Mayor Buds.
Aye. Public comment. Any persons wishing to address the council on any matter connected with city business not elsewhere considered on the agenda may do so at this time. We have no persons in the overflow, and so, Mr. Operator, are there any persons queued up for comment?
Please hit #2 for a comment. There's nobody queued up.
Thank you. Mayor and council remarks. Are there any mayor and council remarks? We'll start with Councilman Dodson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few comments, but before I make those comments, I want to thank my wife for 58 years of marriage, and I'll be looking for many more. To send my prayers out and condolence to George Floyd's family upon his homegoing today. I also want to congratulate the Inglewood Police Department and chief for the wonderful job they did on the marches that came to Inglewood this past weekend. It's really great to see them do what they do and be very professional at it. So thank you, Chief, and thank you, IPD. I also want to congratulate the graduates class of 2020. Even though you have not had a normal graduation, your class will be remembered for the class, as President Obama would say, create a new normal. I want to especially congratulate Malik Diaz, my youth commissioner, for serving on the commission for the last 3 years and helped me on my events when asked. He has been accepted at Charles Drew Medical School. I also want to congratulate, and I am so proud of my grandson, who graduated from Loyola this year, and he has been accepted or got a scholarship to Syracuse University. And we are so proud of him. And with that,
Pretty
I also
snazzy
wanted to
pictures,
say
George.
something about the mayor. The mayor did a nice job on speaking to the marches that came through. It's great when we got somebody that can really speak to those people and they don't tear nothing down, so congratulations.
All right. Councilman Padilla, District 2.
Great, thank you, Mayor. George, again, congratulations on 58 years, you and Ida. What a blessing, so congratulations on that, and on your family's graduations here, so congrats.
Thank you.
I do want to also piggyback on IPD. The Inglewood Police Department did an outstanding job this past, they always do, but even more so these past few days with everything that's going on. They've really done a heck of a job of working together, and I use that word, together with the community as we've facilitated these protests and marches that occurred here in our community. So I want to thank our community members for coming out and their voice being heard and doing it in a peaceful way that their message didn't get lost. So I want to thank IPD and the community on a job well done. I also want to remind folks, let folks know that our tennis and pickle courts are open. I know I've received some phone calls and emails, but those courts are open. You're welcome to use them. I just want to make a comment. The treasurer said something about our city manager and his abilities, and I gotta tell you, Mr. Fields, you've done an outstanding job as our city manager, and I'm not gonna let anybody say something negative with no, I mean, that's ridiculous, you know, so just keep up the good work, you know, proud of what you're doing. I also want to remind folks, 4th of July is still several weeks away. And I know anybody that lives in the area, we've been hearing the ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-bangs. Those are all illegal fireworks. So please, if you know somebody, if it's your neighbor, it's somebody that's selling them in the alley or in the back of a truck or whatever, please help us help you. Report that. You can report it to our information line, which is area code 310-412-4333. Again, 412-4333. 4th of July is not here yet, folks. So please, discourage people from lighting these big illegal fireworks. The only ones that are able to be used here is on 4th of July itself, and that's safe and sane fireworks, not any other. If it flies in the sky, it's illegal. Okay, so just please help us keep this community safe. Let our folks sleep at night. Let our animals get some rest at night. You know, it's ridiculous. Enough said about that. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe and stay healthy.
Councilman Franklin, District 4.
I'm glad you did raise the issue regarding the fireworks, because one would think that it's 24/7 year-round. And I'm glad to hear that we're stepping up to the plate. There was a flyer that's been developed that we're going to be circulating to the community to identify how to be safe and to call if you see something, say something, and make those calls so we can go ahead and address that area specifically. Being mindful that it's the code enforcement officers working with the Inglewood Police Department in order to catch the persons in the act and their possessions of before that they take the ultimate action. And I would be remiss if I also didn't give the props to Artie Fields for your tenacious service of continuing providing quality direction to this council and the city staff on moving forward on where we are today with the SoFi Stadium coming on board, and then the future arena that we're going to have, plus what's been going on now with the street improvements and the other types of funding that is needed. It's your prudent leadership with your staff to make sure we find the funding available and preserve that funding when we definitely need it. And then last, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize my longtime friend that has ultimately made the decision of time for retirement. So, Mayor, if you would mind, I'd like to read the special commendation presented to Terry L. Coleman in recognition of your retirement from the Planning and Zoning Commission. On behalf of the mayor and council members of the city of Inglewood, California, we extend congratulations and best wishes to Terry L. Coleman on the occasion of his retirement, effective June 1, 2020, as the District 4 appointee to the Planning and Zoning Commission after 17 years of faithful and dedicated service to the community members of the city of Inglewood. Terry L. Coleman has a long and distinguished service history in the city of Inglewood and has previously served as the District 4 appointee for both the Human Affairs Commission and the Civil Service Commission. Terry L. Coleman has always been a well-informed, thoroughly prepared, and engaged planning and zoning commissioners who took his responsibilities seriously. He was supportive and instrumental in the approval of both the SoFi Stadium project and the Murphy Bowl project, also known as the LA Clippers project, but was vocal in his opposition for the oversaturation of liquor stores, nail salons, cannabis dispensaries in our community. Terry L. Coleman executed his commission duties faithfully and responsibly, and his diligent efforts have not gone unnoticed and unappreciated. His willingness to embrace new opportunities, take on new challenges, and successfully address and resolve issues has encouraged the hearts of others and garnered their admiration and respect. As resident of the city of Inglewood, we join with family, friends, fellow commissioners, and city staff to celebrate his significant milestone in your life and honor you for being an example of professionalism and integrity that others can truly emulate. May you have continued success in every future endeavor and be blessed with good health, long life, and happiness and prosperity. Now, therefore, be it known that the mayor and city council of the city of Inglewood do hereby salute Terry L. Coleman for this special occasion, signed by the mayor and all council. And on that note, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councilman Franklin. Councilman Morales, District 3.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to Mr. Terry Coleman, and I know, Ralph, you have a long list of people who want to take that spot, but I also know that it'll be a long time before someone fills those shoes like Terry did.
That is correct.
So congratulations to Terry, and I wish him well.
I will let him know.
I want to start with fireworks. I love fireworks. Okay, I love them. My kids love them. Everybody loves fireworks. 4th of July was always something we looked forward to as kids here in Inglewood, and my kids look forward to it. And the illegal fireworks are ruining that, because now we don't look forward to, now, especially as council members, we know 4th of July is coming because it's announced to us at least a month before with these illegal things. And they're ruining our quality of life. Ultimately, those folks are going to take away from the community the beauty that can be the 4th of July. So I hope that we enforce it to the full degree. Again, the phone number Alex said, 310-412-4333. I hope we all use it, and I hope we tell the police where they're at, so that we can improve our quality of life. That being said, I want to thank the Inglewood Police Department for their great work, and not only this last Saturday, but throughout the pandemic and throughout the peaceful protests that happened here in the city. We welcome everyone who wants to protest peacefully. We stand with you. We understand where we're at as a city, and I'm glad that so far we have served as an example to what we need to be. We have learned so much during the past few months, and we will continue to do so. So thank you for the Inglewood Police Department. I want to thank Alex for bringing up the city manager, who he spoke in defense and in support of Artie, and we all feel the same way. You know, every time somebody says something bad about you, Artie, I'm there, and I tell them I like Artie.
I'm good with it because they're not talking about me.
You know?
Go ahead.
So, especially when the mayor says it. No, everybody up here loves Artie, and you know, talk about unsung heroes. You know, there is a lot of work not only from Artie but staff. I'm looking at Lewis. I know David, Robert, Sabrina, Chris. I mean, those are all folks that just work. And we get to get up here and take credit for a lot of that work. So I want to thank you, and I thank Alex for saying it the way he did, because it really opened it up for us to have that conversation. For now, continue to have a good week. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. A couple of things I want to talk about. Protests, I want to talk about fireworks, and then I want to talk about the treasurer's report. Mm-hmm. So we had probably 6 demonstrations in the city, and we want to facilitate the First Amendment rights of people, because, you know, what happened was absolutely terrible. I've spoken half a dozen or more times on radio and television about how I feel about and how I see it. But that being said, you know, we had people that wanted to gather, and so at the same time, we had an obligation to look at what's happened in other cities, where, along with people that just wanted to protest and have their feelings known, there were 2 other factions. There were actually people that came just to layer on top of that and loot while the police were distracted. And then there were, you know, quite frankly, terrorist-type groups that intended to make a statement by damaging government structures. In Riverside, there was a group that went into a DMV, and they set fire to every piece of paper, computer that they could find there. And that had nothing to do with protesting for George Floyd. And so the police department's caught in a conundrum. To provide public safety without suppressing or intimidating people from exercising free speech, either by posture or actual physicality. And Chief Ranarada came up with an excellent deployment plan where we had all of our mutual aid resources from Area G, other departments in the South Bay that support us, here, staged at the city yard, staged beneath City Hall, and ready to respond. There were mobile field forces that would go to our business districts, Market Street, Century Village, Crenshaw Imperial, if things got out of hand. But by being invisible, people weren't intimidated, and it was an excellent strategy. And quite frankly, Inglewood grew on those days of protest, and we're very proud of that. And I want to thank everyone in the police department, from the chief, the captains, every one of the command people, all the lieutenants, all the officers went over and assembled with them after the protest on Saturday. And they have great morale, great esprit de corps, and they have the right attitudes. They're service-oriented people. And I have such admiration for our police department. Okay, talk about fireworks. Now, we all know this is not the first year that people started using fireworks early, right? This is like nothing new. And we know they're probably going to go past the July 4th. But one of the things that makes me really happy is that we've come to the point where crime has been so diminished, where people are no longer in fear of their lives and safety, that now fireworks is a big deal, and they want that taken care of. Now, that being said, let's be realistic. We will get a complaint about fireworks. By the time we get the complaint, when we get there, they're not going off. And I know nobody in this town wants us to secure a search warrant to go search their neighbor's house because they heard them set off a firework, right? They don't want that. So here's the thing that we have to do. If this is indeed really important to us, and there are people that have suffered from PTSD, and there are animals that are frightened, if we truly feel this way as a community, why don't we let our neighbors know we're not feeling this? Now, it happens on my block, and I get up, and I go out, and I knock on my neighbor's door and say, hey, what the? I said, what's going on? Now, so. You guys, but this is something that we're going to have to, it's a culture, and we're going to have to come together as a community, and we're going to have to talk as neighbors and say, we're just not down with this. Because you don't want the police going and getting in altercations over fireworks. I just don't think so. That being said, you call us, we're going to come out, but it's a pretty impossible bar for us to enforce a cultural norm. Just like all that's been proved with all the protests over George Floyd, people can only be policed when they allow themselves to be policed. When people feel the government's unreasonable and intrusive, it sets us down this slope to where people say, we've had enough. So I'm with you. I don't like it. I get up and knock on people's doors. They don't like it, but too bad. But it's a combination. It isn't just the police and the code inspectors. Now, I'm going to talk about Mr. Fields, okay? I've worked for 3 cities, this one twice. I've worked with city managers, executive directors for the airport, the LA City Council. I've worked for the council here when I was in Inglewood. I worked for the city council when I was in Santa Monica. I worked for the city manager when I was in Santa Monica. And so, you know, I know what it's like to work with managers. Artie Fields has a temperament and a capacity that fits in with this council. And it's just beautiful because running a city is like running an orchestra. And he definitely plays his part, and we appreciate him. But what's really sad about this is when the treasurer gets up and she's supposed to be the person that we run numbers by. We don't pay her to invest our money. Somewhere along the way, somebody said it'd be a nice thing for you to have to do to invest our short-term cash funds in 0.5% instruments that we can get out in 60 to 90 days. You know, that was just a nice thing that was done. That's not her job, and that's why we have an investment committee that's going to decide where that goes. However, when someone whose job is to be responsible for reviewing things that we do, investments that we make, and paying out of bonds, gets up and gives false information about numbers, that gives me great concern. So I had Ms. Buchanan get me the actual numbers. Mr. Fields' salary is $318,000 a year. Less than city manager in Beverly Hills, less than the city manager in Santa Monica, less than the city manager in Pasadena, less than the city manager in Torrance. And he didn't get a bonus this year, and his last bonus was $32,000. What she said was factually incorrect. She said we gave over $200,000 to Inglewood today. We went to the Eaton system. We pay papers to advertise things like contracts that we put out for bid, legal notices that we have to make. That's what we have to do. So do you want us to give the money to the LA Times, or do you want us to spend it locally? And we've spent $29,550. What she said was factually incorrect. It was untrue. Now, whether it was deliberate or accidental, either way, there's a big matter of concern, because the public is supposed to be able to trust elected officials. We have great empathy for the treasurer. She said she's struggling with cancer, and we have great empathy for her. However, this is not the way that she talked up until just recently. She praised the city for our direction, our success, and our competence in running it. This is a great concern, because this is a person who is supposed to have a degree of credibility because she has an elected responsibility. So something is going to have to happen. It appears that her ire revolves around not receiving retirement lifetime medical. When she approached me, I told her that an elected official cannot be granted a benefit that the general bargaining unit employees do not have available to them. It's a state law. It's not legal. It's not legal. So with that, I'm going to close the meeting in the name of Andy Jackson and Larry Aubrey. And with that, we're adjourned.